for being here and taking time to take part in this celebration of life for our guy, Stacey King. I'm Cam Smith, host of the Chicago Bulls pregame, halftime, and postgame show for the Chicago Sports Network. And it is an honor to have this role as we celebrate the life of Stacey King here at the Advocate Center. And while this room is full today, we know there are a lot of people that couldn't make it here that love Stacey. We have family here. We have friends here. We have broadcast partners. We also have teammates, former teammates of Stacey's here to share the love that we have for Stacey King. Now with that, I'd like to share a statement on behalf of Stacey's first NBA coach, NBA champion and Hall of Famer, Phil Jackson. The statement reads in part, Stacey was our first pick in the 1989 NBA draft at number 6. Jerry Krause liked his character, which over the years we all enjoyed. He was buoyant and funny. Supposedly, he could walk my walk and imitate me quite on cue to the team. He had a more athletic player ahead of him in Horace Grant, but I started him one game versus the Pistons on Christmas Day. By the way, it energized Horace, and he never forgot it. However, his crowning moment as a Bull came versus the Portland Trail Blazers in the 1992 NBA Finals. He led the way in a late third and fourth quarter resurgence after we had stalled in the third and fell behind. We never forgot his contribution. Rest in peace, Stacey. And for someone like myself that grew up on the west side of Chicago, watching Stacey as a kid, vividly remembering the 90s Bulls, of course, Game 6, Portland Trail Blazers, jumping out of my seat, celebrating with everyone when the Bulls won the championship, fast forward years later to be his broadcast teammate is a true honor. I say that Stacey is a legend in 2 games, both off the court, as we know, with his character, his superpower of making everyone feel great, but of course, on the court with what he was able to do and what he was able to achieve. So with that said, let's get our program started. And we're going to do it by welcoming in Michael Reinsdorf, the president and CEO of the Chicago Bulls.
Thank you all for being here today to celebrate the life of Stacey King. Stacey loved being a Chicago Bull. You could feel it every time you were with him and every time you listened to one of his broadcasts. His passion for this organization, this city, and our fans never faded. And because of that, he will always have a special place in Bulls history. Over the last 3 decades, Stacey became so much more than a former player or our television analyst. He became one of the defining personalities of Chicago Bulls basketball. He meant so much to me, to my family, to my dad, who is here today, to everyone in our organization, to the city of Chicago, and to Bulls fans all over the world. He was clearly one of one, incredibly talented, hilarious, authentic. There simply won't be another Stacey. And this room is filled with people who loved Stacey, his family, his friends, his broadcasting colleagues, and his teammates from college and the NBA. But there are 3 people I especially want to recognize today, Stacey's sons, Eric, Garrett, and Brandon. Watching the 3 of you honor your dad at his funeral was incredibly moving. It was obvious just how special your relationship was, and I couldn't help but see pieces of Stacey in each of you. Your humor, your heart, your ability to connect with people, I know he would have been incredibly proud. Like so many of you, it was devastating when I heard the news about Stacey. It hit me right in the gut. I've been fortunate to watch a lot of basketball over the years and hear so many of the greatest broadcasters our game has ever known, and Stacey belongs in that conversation. He was simply one of the best. Stacey was the voice of Bulls basketball and had a remarkable gift for bringing the game and the emotion surrounding it to life. He had a remarkable gift for turning moments into memories. As I reflected on Stacey over the past few weeks, I kept coming back to one question. What if Stacey had become our coach? No, many years ago, and I'm not sure you probably don't know this, but When we were going through a coaching search, one of the names that my dad suggested was that we consider Stacey. What many people may not remember is that Stacey actually coached in the CBA and actually did a great job. He helped the Rockford Lightning get to the CBA finals. So for a moment, I just let my imagination run, and I couldn't help but think those would have been the greatest film sessions of all time. I could just picture Stacey sitting in the film room right over there with the remote in his hand. Derek, stop it right there. That's exactly how you attack the rim. Too big, too strong, too fast, too good. Lou, that's what happens when you're in the right position. Active hands, cookies. Joe, that's the effort we're talking about. That's winning basketball. Give me the hot sauce. Fortunately, though, for Bulls fans, Stacey ended up exactly where he belonged. For generations of Bulls fans, Stacey's voice became the soundtrack of Bulls basketball. His joy, passion, and love for the Bulls came through every broadcast in every one of his signature catchphrases. What made Stacey special wasn't just his talent, it was his authenticity. Fans felt like they knew him because in many ways they did. Stacey welcomed Bulls fans into the game. He shared stories, explained what was happening on the floor, and did it with sincerity, insight, incredible humor, and unmistakable passion. He was always 100% himself. What fans heard on the broadcast was exactly who he was. And Stacey didn't stop when the game ended and the microphone was turned off. He always made time for people. Whether it was at the United Center or on the road, he stayed to take pictures, tell stories, shake hands, and make every fan feel they mattered. That generosity came naturally to him. It was simply who he was. Throughout this coming season, the Bulls will honor Stacey in ways that reflect the impact he had on our organization. Our players will wear commemorative patches on their jerseys throughout the season, and will also welcome Bulls fans to a special tribute game at the United Center to celebrate the man who meant so much to all of us. We'll have more to share about those tributes as we get closer to the season. Today, though, is an opportunity to celebrate the remarkable person he was and the impact he had on all of us. We all feel the sadness of this loss, but we're also here to celebrate the joy Stacey brought into our lives, because I truly believe that's exactly what he would have wanted. Stacey's legacy isn't defined by a patch on a jersey or a tribute game. Those are simply our way of saying thank you. His true legacy lives in countless memories he gave us, the joy he brought to Bulls fans everywhere, and the special place he will always hold in the Bulls family. We will miss him deeply, but we will never forget him. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. I'm just thinking about Stacey as a head coach in my head right now, and it'd be a great time for sure because that's just who Stacey was, but you knew that he would get the job done. All right, we're going to welcome in Neil Funk, Emmy Award-winning sports broadcaster, who was the voice for the Chicago Bulls for 30 years and also broadcast partner to Stacey King for more than a decade.
Good morning. This is not really where I wanted to be or thought I'd be, but here we are. Stacey was a remarkable, remarkable guy. And I'm going to kind of go back to the beginning when Stacey and I were first paired together. Neither one of us really knew what to expect. But Stacey was such a great teammate. He would always say to me, look, you just lead, I'll follow. I'll get it. And we went through the first year. I remember before I get into the first year, Jerry Reinsdorf, who Stacey adored, saying to me, don't let him bully you. Don't let him run over you. Keep him in check. So the first year we worked together, we pretty much did a traditional NBA broadcast. Actually just a traditional basketball broadcast. And Stacey kind of followed my lead, never really got out of his lane. Occasionally there'd be a little outburst of give me the hot sauce or whatever he felt like saying at the time. But for the most part, it was pretty traditional. Year two, I remember saying to Jim Corno Jr. or Sr. actually, who was at Comcast, I'm going to kind of let Stacey run a little bit more. And he said, okay, just be careful. Fast forward to January 22nd of, I think it was 2010, and we're in Phoenix doing a game. And I knew Stacey was really eloquent. He was quick. He always had a quip. He had a way of describing things that were almost beyond belief sometimes. Like, how the hell did he come up with that? But January 22nd, we're in Phoenix, and I thought I had kind of control of the broadcast. I was the play-by-play guy. Stacey was the analyst. And all of a sudden, Derrick Rose dunked on Goran Dragic. And oh my. Stacey went on about a 30 or 40 second rant, which you can find on the internet. Unbelievable. I was like speechless. And he ended that rant, though, with something that was appropriate for Stacey and appropriate for Bulls fans, as he reminded us all that Derrick Rose was from Chicago. And it couldn't have been a more appropriate ending to this rant he was on, which was hilarious and descriptive at the same time. And Stacey had a way of being that. Funny, but descriptive. And sometimes way too descriptive. He was iconic. He was into pop culture. He knew everything about it, but he also knew the history of the NBA and the history of the Chicago Bulls, who he dearly loved. He was also big on social media, which I told him was a mistake. I had encouraged him at the beginning to, interact with fans. Well, Stacey was going to do that no matter what. But the social media thing just wore me out. He'd be on his phone the whole game while the game is going on, texting. And I was like, what are you doing? I used to try to, if there was a play in which the Bulls scored, and I saw Stacey out of the corner of my eye on his phone texting, I would always say, Stacey, what happened there? Because I know there's no way he could have seen what was happening. Little did I know, while he was texting, he also had the monitor in front of him, so he did see it. And I would say, Stacey, what happened there? He'd go, well, it was a back screen. The guy came up, and there was a layup, and he made the layup. I'm like, how in the hell did he see that? Well, he did. He was different, and he changed the way I felt about broadcasting. I'm sure the way that Adam Amin feels about broadcasting and about how we attack things and how we do our jobs. Stacey just had a way of describing things that, as I said, was almost otherworldly sometimes. And with all of his too big, too strong, too fast, too good, and give me the hot sauce, my favorite was always, I think Joakim Noah ripped a rebound away from a guy, and Stacey said he's like a bully playing in a sandbox. And I'm thinking to myself, who in the hell thinks about, in the middle of an NBA game, a bully in a sandbox? But that was Stacey. He had a description for everything. And again, as I said, he was iconic. He was different. And he brought a joy to doing the games, and a joy for me. Actually, I'm 37 years old, and this is what I look like after 12 years with Stacey. He did wear me out, and he could be infuriating at times, but he had a way, you couldn't stay mad at him, no matter what he did. He was a terrific partner. And as I said, he loved the Chicago Bulls. He loved the Reinsdorf family. I can't count the number of times when I would be unhappy about something and he would say, "You want me to call Jerry?" I said, "No, Stacey, I don't want you to call Jerry." "You sure?" "I'll call Jerry. Jerry and I are tight. I'll call Jerry. Don't worry about it." But he did love, and he loved the city of Chicago. As I said, when he ended that rant after the Derek dunk with, "Don't you know, Dragic, that that kid is from Chicago," was typical of how Stacey felt about this city and about the Chicago Bulls. I will leave you with one note. He wasn't perfect, and we've all come up and talked about all of the great things that Stacey did and all the great things he said. He was a man of the people. He did enjoy taking a picture. He never told anybody no. He'd sign autographs. He'd stay after the games. He was a terrific ambassador for the Bulls with the fans here in Chicago. But Stacey was not perfect, but he loved to think he was. So he would, whenever we did an open, Stacey felt that there was no need for us to rehearse because we could just do it in one take. And he called himself One Take King. So we go out, we're playing Milwaukee, and it was early on in Giannis Antetokounmpo's career. And so Stacey had seen him, I think, one other time, one other game. And I don't recall if it was a preseason game or if it was an actual regular season game at the United Center. But we go out and sit down to do the open, and my lead into Stacey was, and the Bucks have a young player that they think is going to be really special. And Stacey goes, "Yeah, Giannis Antetokounmpo." And I'm like, "What? What did you just say?" "Stacey, stop. We're going to do that again." I said, "I thought we were one take." No, we're going to do it again." So we start again. "Stacey, the Bucks have a young player that they think is going to be really special." "Yeah, I'm like, what did you just say?" "We're going to stop. We're going to do it again." I said, "All right, Stacey, this is it." He goes, "No, I got it." And I could see him kind of trying to spell it out phonetically, pronounce it phonetically. He's looking at the thing. I see his lips moving. And I got it. "All right, here we go. Stacey, the Bucks have a young player that they think is going to be really special." "Yeah, Giannis is going to be a good one." And for the remainder of the time I worked with Stacey, he never called him anything but Giannis. I still don't know if he could say Antetokounmpo or whatever. There were a lot of people that couldn't, however. But he was my friend. He was my partner. And I loved him. In fact, my wife adored him. My grandchildren like him better than me because he was always so engaging with them whenever he saw them. He's special. He was a special broadcaster. He kind of changed, as I said, the way broadcasting was done. And he was talented enough that he could have been a national guy. But he never would have done that. He loved it here too much. He loved doing the Bulls games. He loved the Bulls fans. He loved the Bulls family. He liked that culture. And for that reason, he made me a better person. He made me a better broadcaster. And I will forever be indebted to him. But again, as I said, he was like my brother. I adored him. And I am just shocked at his early passing. Thank you guys for your attention, and thank you all for being here. Appreciate it, and so does Stacey.
Thank you, Neil. Yeah, many have tried with Giannis's last name, so Stacey isn't the only one that has some challenges with that. But One Take King, that was the first time I've heard that nickname for Stacey there. So we appreciate Neil and his time. And then now we're going to welcome our guy, Adam Amin, who is the Chicago Bulls play-by-play announcer, but also a broadcast partner to Stacey King. But I'll say brother to Stacey King than just broadcast partner.
Thank you very much, Cam. Thank you, everybody. I wanted to say thank you to the Bulls, the organization, and to the King family for giving me an opportunity to speak here today. Coincidentally enough, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Giannis means God is gracious, and the last name Antetokounmpo means the crown returns from over the seas. I felt that was very appropriate, so I really appreciated listening to Neil talk, but that's what Giannis's name means, and I almost think that's very fitting for our friend Stacey King, especially the part about the crowns returning across the seas. That seems more appropriate today than maybe I even thought. That's the type of nugget I always wanted to have in my back pocket anytime we worked together. He would always get very excited anytime there was a little factoid or a story or an anecdote that he hadn't heard or that he hadn't come across, and he got very excited about that. That was a joy that I got from working with him that made me feel like I was doing something important and doing something special. He was very good at that. He was very good at making you feel like a part of the team, like a part of what you were doing was important. We're all in this together. I see a lot of his teammates are here today. I know you all felt that same thing, right? I imagine when you hear about, listen back to somebody talking about 92, Game 6, something I was watching with my father sitting in our home in Chicago during a very hot June summer and sitting in the cool basement while watching with most of the city of Chicago and thinking about how cool this is that the team that I grew up rooting for and watching and cheering on was doing so well. They were a championship level team. And that's how I, along with generations of fans, an entire generation of Bulls fans, were introduced to Stacey. That's how I got to know who he was, this helper on the bench, this contributor, part of that Game 6 bench-led comeback with Jordan on the bench. That's how I got introduced to Stacey. I think a lot of us who grew up in this city, who grew up in this area, that's how we forged a connection with not only Stacey, but with the organization. That's how it happens. That's how fans become enamored with a team. They see it. They see something. They feel some sort of connection or kinship, and they decide, well, this is what I'm going to devote some of my time to, this team or these people. And that's what I imagine a lot of you, I see Craig Hodges out there today. I see a lot of his teammates out there today. And I imagine that a lot of you felt those same things when you think about Stacey, when you think about a lot of your teammates. I've only had to grieve twice in my life. I find it to be incredibly exhausting, this feeling of grief, this process. And I've been to therapy for many years, and I've gotten used to the idea of all the steps that you're supposed to take and the things that linearly help you move along after a horrible event or a great loss takes place in your life. And God, I know all the steps, and I am so exhausted by them. I'm so very tired. I hate grieving. I hate this process. But gosh, today makes it a little bit easier. And I think every time that I've had a chance to speak to somebody or hear a story or listen to any of you tell a tale about our friend, our colleague, our compatriot, makes it a little bit easier, a little bit easier, a little bit easier each time. That's the process of it. When I lost my father 8 years ago, I went through this same process, and I didn't understand what I was doing, what I was supposed to be doing. I still don't necessarily know what I'm supposed to be doing, but I feel like speaking about him and telling these stories, it's made it a little easier and a little easier. And I think the only thing I can do is tell you not the things that Neil has talked about, what his sons will talk about, what Michael was able to talk about. Everybody knows his connections to this place and this organization, this city. My connection with him was, as I told you, growing up watching this team. I grew up watching Neil and Stacey. And I see Tom Dora's in here too, and I always want to credit Tom as well because he was a formative voice in my life. But Neil and Stacey were the soundtrack of my development in this job as a professional, as somebody who decided this is what I would like to do and eschew the things that my South Asian immigrant parents had preached, and I was going to pursue this other line of work. I wanted to be a broadcaster. I wanted to talk about the things that Neil and Tom and Jim Durham and Wayne Larrabee and the voices that I got used to, Johnny Redker and Norm Van Leer and Stacey, the things that they talked about. I was passionate about those things. I want to talk about those things too. So that became the line of work that I wanted to pursue. And Neil and Stacey were a tremendous blueprint in how to do this job maybe a little bit of a different way. You heard Neil talk about the science of this. We've kind of boiled it down to a minimal science to explain to people that don't necessarily understand what the job entails, right? There's a play-by-play announcer. They tell you who is doing something, what are they doing, and they punctuate important moments with their voice and their words and their inflection and maybe a turn of phrase or a nickname or some kind of familiar connectivity that will make a fan remember that moment. That's typically what the play-by-play announcer would do. And the analyst, typically a person of some experience and knowledge and understanding of the game, would give you some nuance. All right, well, here's how that happened. Here's why that happened. And then they would get out of the way. And as all of you know, that's not who Stacey was. He blew up whatever formula that had been on television and radio for a half a century to a century. Every fan that would sit down and watch a game was used to the idea of this person's going to tell me this, the other person's going to tell me this, and ne'er the twain shall meet. And that was not the case. That was not the formula with Stacey. And as Neil had to figure it out, I was already getting the primer and the blueprint. Unbeknownst to me, I was getting the understanding of how this job could be done if the person next to you had something special. If they were special. He has a very special gift that I think for any of us who are fortunate enough to live a full life, maybe see a handful of times, 2 handfuls of times within a group of people or a person that we might be fortunate enough to meet one day. And that is this very special gift that has this universal power to it. And that is to make anybody feel as comfortable as they possibly can be right where their feet are. That is an incredible gift. Think about the people in your life that have made you feel that way. And think about how often you think about those people. Whether you interact with somebody else and your memory goes right to how that person treated somebody that you saw or treated you or made you feel. There's this Maya Angelou quote that, it's not about necessarily the words. I'm paraphrasing. It's not necessarily the words that you hear from somebody. It's the way they make you feel that sticks with you. And God, did he make you feel a certain way? Whether you're watching a basketball game or whether you're at the United Center for the very first time and you got shuttled unexpectedly onto the floor because he was nice enough to tell the security guard, hey, give it a second, they're with me. And they'd go out onto the floor and they'd feel this thrill that maybe they'd never get another opportunity to feel ever again for the rest of their lives. It's something I take for granted. I try not to. I think a lot of us probably try not to take it for granted, but we do. I was 29 years old when I stepped out onto the floor of the United Center for the very first time and got to put my feet on this floor that I'd been seeing from afar, or seeing on television, or watching from the 300 level with my brother, because those were the tickets that we could afford when we would come to a game. And I wanted to be on that floor in some capacity, and I got to do it. I got to live out this incredible dream with more than a dozen auditioning hopefuls, some of whom are in this room today and still maintained a friendship with Stacey. And because of that way he treated you and made you feel, you maintained this relationship with him. I was the fortunate one that got the job, that got the opportunity. A hometown kid who gets to call games for his hometown team and do it with a guy he was familiar with when he was 4 years old, sitting on the basement of his home in Chicago with his immigrant father who didn't know anything about basketball but understood that this was something special and important that was taking place. I can't believe that that was the opportunity that I was given. I got to fill in for Neil after watching him and Stacey for years and understanding that when somebody is next to you that has that special gift that you only see a handful of times in your life, you let them run with it because you try to harness it and you try to make it something. You try to push it to something that makes other people feel involved in it. That is an incredible thing that you can do. I hope there's a lot of you in this room that are fortunate enough to feel some level of success in your life or some level of good fortune in your life. And if you do, all I would ask is that you would try to follow the example that he made me follow. He wasn't forcing me, he wasn't lecturing me to do it, but it was an example. It was an example that he showed how to treat people, regardless of where they come from, who they are, if they're a Hollywood starlet that he had an opportunity to meet, or a basketball Hall of Famer and royalty that I have had the opportunity many times over the years to interact with, fortunately, or if it was the usher at the stadium that just wanted a couple of minutes to chat. about the game that he saw on the weekend. It was just a great example for how to treat people and how to make them feel so that they walk away feeling a little bit better than when you first came upon them. That's an incredible gift that I think all of you who feel some level of fortune and success in your life, I think that's something that we can all take away from Stacey. He did that for me as often as he possibly could. He was a wonderful friend and a great partner and a great teammate. All my teammates are here today. We loved working with him. My favorite story, my favorite 24 hours with Stacey was overseas. We went to Paris a few years ago. Not as a romantic getaway, just the team was playing the Pistons and we were obviously covering the game. And we sat in this 5-star Parisian hotel, a city that I had never dreamed of being able to see when I was sitting on the floor of the basement watching a basketball game. I never thought that Paris was an opportunity that I would ever be fortunate enough to enjoy. And sure enough, we get to go to Paris. We're sitting in this hotel. We're enjoying a meal together with our friends, our colleagues, some of our teammates. And he's telling us stories about the Turkish mobsters in Antalya that he was dealing with when he was playing overseas. And he was telling us about back and forth jawing with Spike Lee at Madison Square Garden and these wonderful stories. And all I could think was, this is it. This is the peak. This is the height of luxury. This is the thing that I get to enjoy. I can't believe I'm sitting here. And then 20 hours later, we're getting on the bus to go to the arena in Paris, and Stacey rips his pants from thigh to ankle as he's getting on the bus. So we're going to the arena. He's got pant leg wide open. Our producer, Mark Brady, who's laughing at this story because he remembers it fondly, is suggesting duct tape. He's suggesting gaffer tape, and Stacey is vehemently arguing against it. Please don't ruin this very, very nice suit any further than it's already been ruined. He staples Stacey's pants shut before we go on the air. And Stacey's kind of adjusting himself, and it's like, all right, I guess we're going to do the broadcast this way. And he points very quickly because he sees a lanky, alien-like human being walking along the floor on the other side. And it's this 19-year-old kid that's eventually going to get drafted into the NBA. And he goes, watch, that guy's going to change the face of the league. Watch. That was Victor Wembanyama. That was a very astute basketball observation in the midst of all this chaos that's taking place. And in the very next sequence, I turn around and he goes, oh, Adam, I want you to meet a friend of mine. And he introduces me to Magic Johnson. In the same sequence, as if it were the most natural occurrence ever. And I got to meet Magic Johnson, and I shook his hand, and he smiled that big smile at me. And Stacey looked at both of us as if to say, congratulations, you just met a very cool person. It's that same feeling that I'll always walk away with, that I hope you have the opportunity to share with somebody. That is a service that you can do in his honor, in the honor of people that you may lose at some point or another in your life. That's a gift. My father would have called it amal salik. It means good deed in Arabic. That's a mitzvah. It's a gift. That's a gift and a service that you can give to somebody else. He did that for a lot of people. You know how he was with fans. Never said no. Never walked away. Was there for an hour, 2 hours after a game if it called for it. That's a gift that you give to somebody. It's a wonderful gift that you can give to anybody when you have the opportunity to do so. My father passed 7 months before he met Stacey. I think they would have really liked each other. I think he really would have enjoyed our partnership. I think he really would have loved watching us on TV. I think he would have loved listening to Stacey get to work with his son. They're buried about 100 yards from each other now. I think that's a small little gift in some way, shape, or form. I don't know how to describe it yet because I'm not in that area of grief processing to be able to tell you what that means to me, but I have this deep feeling in my heart that I think that's going to mean something to me, a lot. I think that's going to mean a lot to me for a very, very long time. I didn't know how to end this speech. I've done a lot of these in the last few weeks. But I'm very fortunate to get to talk about my friend and my compatriot, my brother. I just really appreciate the opportunity to get to do that. This is a little gift for me as well. So thank you for letting me share that with you and for you to be a part of that today. Thank you.
Adam, thank you. Adam, thank you so much for that. And Adam spoke on the gift that Stacey was able to give to so many people. But I believe in that gift is light, right? It's a piece of light that Stacey was able to share with so many people. And when you leave that conversation, you leave that experience, you leave that interaction with Stacey, the world feels a little bit better, feels a little bit brighter. And so that was the special powers of Stacey King. Thank you, Adam, again for that. All right, everyone, please join me in welcoming Stacey's sons, Eric, Garrett, and Brandon King.
If anyone was there last week, I promise I won't do the same thing and break down. I'll get through this. I've been practicing. My name is Eric, and standing beside me today are my brothers Garrett and Brandon. Together, we want to thank all of you for being here to celebrate the life of our dad, Stacey King. Before anything else, we want to express our deepest gratitude to the Reinsdorf family. Thank you for your kindness, generosity, and for your unwavering support you've shown our dad and family. Your support you have offered our family during this very difficult time has been so appreciated. Words alone aren't sufficient. We also want to thank the entire Bulls organization, from ownership at the front office to the coaches, the players, broadcasters, and every member of the staff. Thank you for embracing our father, not just as a member of the Bulls family, but his family. He loved this organization with all his heart, and we know that love was returned. So thank you for that support you have offered me and my brothers. Most people know our dad as an NBA champion, a Bulls broadcaster with unforgettable calls, catchphrases, and someone who could light up any room with his personality. Garrett, Brandon, and I knew him simply as Dad, the guy that would text us at 3 a.m. with a bunch of videos that we've seen 100 times. We knew the man who always picked up the phone. God forbid you didn't pick up his phone call. It's like, Dad, I'm in class. I can't pick up. I'm not ignoring you, I promise. Who encouraged us through every challenge, celebrated every milestone, and made us laugh when we needed it most. He taught us to work hard, stay humble, be kind, and always stand by the people you love. Our dad had a gift for making everyone feel important, whether you were a lifelong friend, a fan, co-worker, or someone he had just met. He had a way of making people feel like you belonged. He loved Chicago, he loved the Bulls, he loved the fans. Wearing that Bulls jersey and later representing this incredible organization as a broadcaster were among the greatest honors of his life. He never took any of it for granted. But above everything else, our dad loved being a father. That was the title he was most proud of. Today, our hearts are broken, but they are also filled with gratitude. We are grateful for every memory, every lesson, every laugh, every moment. We were blessed to have it. Even his 3-hour lectures. I hated those. His legacy isn't just in championships, broadcasts, or the memories fans have of him. It's the countless lives he's touched, the friendships he's built, the people he encouraged, and the love he gave us so freely. So today we ask everyone to remember him the way he would want to be remembered, with smiles, with laughters, with gratitude. Tell stories, laugh at the memories, celebrate the joy he brought in so many people's lives. Dad, thank you for showing Garrett, Brandon, and I what love, loyalty, and strength truly looks like. We love you more than words can express. We miss you every single day, and we promise to carry your spirit, your values, and your love with us for the rest of our lives. So everyone here today, thank you for loving our dad and for honoring his life with us. Your presence means more than you'll ever know. We love you, Dad. And drive safely, Chicago. Beep, beep.
Eric, Garrett, and Brandon, thank you so much for that. I was sharing a story with these guys back before they came up on the stage and spoke. But a couple of seasons ago, I filled in for the whole spot for Bulls pregame, halftime, and also post. And it was a commemorative pin night for the Chicago Bulls. They had different pins. It was the Joakim Noah infamous draft suit pin. It was the Sea Red pin, which I love. But then also it was the hot sauce pin, right? And I made sure to wear that pin on my lapel because I knew that Stacey was going to be our special guest for pregame. And I could see my man Kendall Gill right over here. And I'm, again, as I told you guys, from Chicago, remember Stacey as a kid cheering on those Bulls championship teams. And now I'm his teammate and I get ready to share the desk with Stacey King. And so we're going through it. We're going through our pregame and we have Stacey on. And I'm letting everyone know about the commemorative pin night. And I say, you know, I have my Give Me the Hot Sauce pin in honor of you, Stacey. And Stacey turned and looked at me. He said, man, how did you get a pin and I didn't get a pin? So it's just part of Stacey's humor, of course, and just who he was and just keeping things light, but always supported me and always showed a lot of love. And that's just who Stacey was. He gave you light. He gave you love no matter who you were. So again, Eric, Garrett, and Brandon, thank you so much for that. Now I invite everyone to take part and watch a video produced by Bulls TV honoring our very own Stacey King.
The Chicago Bulls select Stacey King from the University of Oklahoma.
You could have gone number 1. Instead, you go number 6. Any disappointments?
Oh, definitely not. I'm playing with one of the best players in the NBA, and I'm very fortunate to be in Chicago.
Stacey has been special to me over the 10-plus years we've been together.
Oh, fuck, baby. The dynamic duo, baby.
He ought to be thanking you. He made a career off you. Too big, too strong, too fast.
See what I got to deal with.
Too big, too strong, too fast, too good.
He's been a godsend for me.
Stacey's, colorful views of the game, his outgoing nature, and his knowledge of the game. There are not many people like Stacey.
Plays right there win ball games. This is a team effort, baby. Michael Jackson had the Jackson 5, and I got all you guys with me, baby. Come on, baby. Come on.
And if you were to ask Stacey which of the Jackson 5 he is, I think we all know the answer.
Of course, I'm Michael.
Nationwide is on your side, and Stacey King is too.
Woo, the
baby.
Pipes, the pipes.
Oh, baby.
The world don't move to a beat of just one drum.
What might be right for you?
That might be right for some.
That's right. Just by sheer volume, you're going to develop a rhythm and a cadence and a chemistry. And luckily, when you have a partner that is open to all of those things like Stacey is, it becomes fairly easy to find that rhythm.
No double overtime.
I've definitely grown because of him. I've figured out more ways to be adaptable because Stacey, his energy is what people come for.
Chicago, it's a hard-working city that wants to get behind this team and its people.
You're an All-American and you're drafted number 1. You come up to the Bulls and you look around and you say, by golly, there's a bunch of other All-Americans sitting up there. It's a tough job.
It is really tough. I think that you have to come in with your priorities right, and you have to be willing to learn. And not everything is going to come easy in life. And I think if you just, take your time, good things come to those who wait.
We won the world championship. Now that's the inside stuff. Show them what Chicago's all about. Chicago, we love you. So what the hell? Let's go for 2. Jeez. What's up with you, boy? It's us.
Winning that first one was huge for me because I know how important it was to the city of Chicago. I don't think we would have been a championship year if we didn't push each other.
Stacey King has played a major role. King, yes! The Bulls with a 3, and they've done it with Michael Jordan sitting out. Chicago Bulls have 3 straight NBA championships.
Like, I've been here since I was 22 years old. So I came straight from the draft here. So Chicago's home.
Derrick Rose, go upstairs.
you have
Come on,
everything.
Come on, man.
I'm at the charge.
Come on, Stacey.
Derrick Rose and go upstairs.
You're a great partner, and you're an awesome analyst, and I hope people appreciate how talented you are on air. You're one of one, man. There's nobody like you.
Jimmy G Buckets. The G stands for Game White 8. The marvelous DeRozan, Compton's finest.
I want to go higher. That's what I'm talking about right there. That's your point guard, Neil.
Sriracha.
Give me that.
John Slam with Gamma. Oh my God! I cannot believe this.
There's Bulls fans worldwide, and it's great to be part of that. Great to be a person that's put a brick in the road and shared it with all these beautiful people and these great teammates that I had an opportunity to play with. It's been a nice ride.
And you can drive home safely, Chicago. Beep, beep.
Phenomenal work from Bulls TV with that video. That was awesome and really brought in who Stacey was just as a person, but also as a broadcaster. But we know that today has been special for a number of reasons, but mainly because we were able to celebrate and honor and also remember someone who we know we will miss very dearly. We want to thank everyone here for taking part in the celebration of life for a Bulls legend, Stacey King, and also those at home joining us for the celebration of life for Stacey King. So for everyone still in attendance, we will have some light refreshments. We'll be able to share in some more of those memories, some of those stories, and celebrate continuously the life and legacy of Stacey King. Thank you, everyone.